Chapter 66, Mysterious Accident. Sarah stressed that she wouldn't give up Hyun-ki for Riel, and she was willing to fight for her love for him, which made Hyun-ki's blood run cold and torn. Meanwhile, in the hospital, a middle-aged man discreetly looking for the whereabouts of Reeler's room number. At Reeler's suite, she was getting bored. She told the nurse aide to bring her out of her room, and wished to get some fresh air and feel the sun's heat. So, the nurse aide obliged. While Riel was in her wheelchair being pushed by the nurse aide, she unknowingly knew that a man's presence was there. He discreetly followed them, as they went to the elevator, down to the park. He stood by a tree, waiting, watching and observing her. Riel told her nurse aide to let her stay for a while under the sun, so the aide sat by the bench under a shady tree, and while sitting, the nurse aide brought out her smartphone from her pocket, started to browse quietly. Riel was comfortably leaning her head by the wheelchair's headrest, with her eyes closed, happily enjoying the wind caressing her skin and the sun's rays touching her body, when a man walked briskly behind the wheelchair. He was at close proximity from the wheelchair, bent his knee, half kneeling, pretending to tie his shoelace. He discreetly and quickly unlocked the wheelchair's brakes, unnoticed by Riel. Then, when he stood up, he outrightly pushed it with great force, horrifying Riel and the nurse aide when she heard Riel screaming for help. Lucky for Riel, an incoming male nurse was walking her path, and was fast enough to get a hold of her wheelchair. Or else, she would have met another fatal accident, bumping toward a concrete column of the hospital lobby. The aide was petrified and confused about how the wheelchair got unlocked. "Are you sure you have locked both legs of the chair?" probed the male nurse. "Yes, I am sure of it, or else I would not leave the wheelchair unattended if the locks were weak," the nurse aide contested. While the two were arguing, Riel felt pain from her wound, and the two nurses panicked and rushed her to the emergency room. The man was still there with the startled crowd, grinning devilishly under his face mask. After receiving the nurse aide's news about Reeler's puzzling accident, Akio got worried and upset. He decided to return and check on Riel. He rode his helicopter and told the pilot to drop him on the hospital's helipad. He had to be there soonest before Hyun-ki arrived. Simultaneously, the doctor called Hyun-ki to report the unusual accident that happened to Riel. When his phone rang, Hyun-ki was holding a meeting with his corporate officers in the conference room. He did not mind it at first since it was an unknown number, clicking it to stop, until he got distracted. When he answered it, Hyun-ki's eyes grew wide, and his face was dark and severe. His facial expression rattled his officers, especially when he left the meeting hastily without a word. When Hwan-chul happened to cross paths with him, Hyun-ki was looking at his watch, and heard him call Juni so they can leave immediately. Hwan-chul became worried that he chased his brother. "Hyung, why are you leaving?" Hwan-chul curiously asked. "We're in a delicate situation. What's wrong, Hyung?" Fear and worry were written all over Hyun-ki's face, and he said, "Finish the meeting, or inform them that we will continue the meeting tomorrow." Something came up that couldn't wait. Hyun-ki removed his coat and tie and loosened his collar button as he walked out of his office. Hwan-chul was left standing in Hyun-ki's office, somewhat bothered by his mysterious behavior. At that moment, Akio had already arrived at the hospital's helipad and rushed swiftly to Reeler's suite. The doctor checked on her while the nurse aide told him about the incident when Akio appeared. "Doctor, how is Riel? Is there any more complications?" asked Akio with great concern. "She felt so much pain in her heart that I checked her ECG. It was good that a near accident didn't affect her heart. It was the wound that bled because of trauma. She is resting now." The doctor patted Akio's shoulder and left. The nurse aide further explained, "Sir, I am so sorry. I was so sure I never left the wheelchair without checking the safety lock, which made me puzzled by how it moved." The male nurse said that the brake was unlocked, but how could that happen? The nurse aide was explaining when Hyun-ki showed up, having overheard the nurse aide's puzzling statement. He was standing by the doorway, his hand still holding the doorknob, when he heard the nurse aide explaining the incident. He walked straight toward Reeler's bed, glanced at her sleeping face, and then faced Akio. "I was surprised to see you here. I thought you were out of town. How did the news come to you quickly?" "Was it from the nurse aide?" Hyun-ki asked. "Yes, because I assigned a nurse aide for Riel, and she must give me an update of Reeler's situation while confined. I see. Thank you." "How did you come here that fast if you were out of town?" asked Hyun-ki suspiciously. "I used my helicopter, and I use it whenever an emergency or my presence is needed, especially when I am out of town. And Riel was a top priority for me." Akio stood straight-faced at Hyun-ki without blinking. Was it true that your relationship with my fiancé was only friendly? Or are you in love with my fiancé that she was unaware of? Hyunki gave a challenging look at Akio. Look here, Hyunki. Jealousy is not a time to mix up with my concern for Riel. I am a friend and will always be. Even if you marry her, I will never leave her side, and that's how much I treasure our friendship. Hyunki was mummed. He was unsure how he would feel about Akio's friendship with Riel. Would he give in, or would he be watchful of him? Both were silent, waiting for Riel to wake up. The nurse aide felt uneasy about the two men in Riel's life. Still, she thought about how fortunate Riel was to have two handsome, affluent, and influential men in love with her. After an hour of waiting, Riel twitched her face and moved her body slowly, and before her eyes, the two men in her life were staring at her with much concern shown on their faces. Riel smiled weakly to lighten their mood, then asked, "Why were you standing there? Help me sit, please." The two men quickly acted on Riel's request, and the nurse aide observing them was thrilled and secretly giggled. Hyunki quickly embraced Riel and asked, "How are you feeling now, babe? Do you have any other pain apart from your wound?" Riel held Hyunki's chin and replied, "Nothing else, love. But this wound hurts, and I couldn't seem to handle the pain." Akio joined in. "Should I call the doctor? Your arm must be placed in a sling so you cannot move your arms for the time being. I'll see if I need it. But why were you both here? Do you have important works to do?" implored Riel. "Who could focus on work when you were in danger?" wondered Akio concernedly. "Why did you say I was in danger?" "It was an accident," Riel contradicted. "I was also thinking of that, which is why I want this to be re-examined again, and see if there was a foul play from your wheelchair getting unlocked. And one more thing, I will assign a bodyguard for you, because a nurse aide has to see your needs, and you need to be protected at the same time. I don't want this to happen to you again, babe." Hyunki expressed his fear. "But babe, I am not used to having people around me. I am fine with the nurse aide, but to have a Akio cut in. You need one, Riel, so that someone is watching over you wherever you are. And besides, it would be a lady bodyguard that I will get for you, so that she could be around you all the time, inside the room or in the hospital park. I could not risk your safety until we find the culprit, if there was one indeed." Riel could not win against these two men she cared about so much, so she agreed. Hyunki then called his security agency to provide a bodyguard for Riel. At the same time, Akio gave a heads up on Riel's nurse aide to assist her all the time, especially when she is given a sling to protect her wound from getting afresh. Akio offered Hyunki and Riel to have lunch all together before he left. The three enjoyed each other's company and almost forgot the time. Akio was the first to leave. "I'd call up occasionally to know how you were doing." "Okay, friend." Riel nodded with a bright smile, inspiring Akio and putting him in high spirits. Hyunki was not moving after Akio left. "Are you not going back to your pending work, babe?" Riel touched Hyunki's face while his face was leaning on his arms, lying on Riel's bed, with his eyes fixed on her. "I don't feel like returning to the meeting. I want to stay with you. Don't worry about me. I am safe in my room and have the nurse with me. Could you come back as soon as your meeting is over? That is better than hanging around with me when you are needed in the forum," said Riel affectionately. Hyunki touched Riel's hair and said, "I already missed you. I'll be back before you know it." Hyunki went close to Riel and kissed her forehead, then quickly dampened her lips. Hyunki was in his Lexus when he was thinking about Riel's accident. He called up his detective friend and narrated the incident that caused Riel a risky accident. His friend told Hyunki that he'd be in the hospital by 5 p.m. to check on the wheelchair and where Riel was before the accident happened. Who is this mysterious stalker whose aim was vengeance? Keep following the Windows of the Heart series. More exciting episodes are coming. Thank you.